What's up, homie? Welcome to the Pop Off Podcast, a conversation show about one battle after another. My name is Ralph Compiano, and I am joined today by one of my favorite people and best friends in the world, Riesberg, and we are going to dive deep into the movie of the year and perhaps the movie of the decade thus far. One Battle After Another is Paul Thomas Anderson's 10th film that he has written and directed. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Ghetto Pat, aka Bob Ferguson, a washed-up former member and explosive device expert of a revolutionary group known as the French 75, and the people that surround him, namely his daughter, Willa Ferguson, aka Charlene Calhoun, and that is played by Chase Infinity in her film debut. We also have Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Regina Hall, Alana Haim, and a number of other actors. And today we are going to be diving deep into all of them. But first, I think it's important to note what this film is about. And I wrote down some things, Riesberg, that I think this film is about. And those things are revolutionaries, modelos, family, found family, ocean waves, senseis, vapes, Christmas adventurers, BDSM, blowing up banks, paranoia, and the urge to have sex while a bomb goes off in the background. Again, we're going to deep dive everything in this movie, the plot, the characters, how we felt about it. But first and foremost, it is important to lay the groundwork with a simple question, Skylar. Did you like One Battle After Another?
The simple answer is yes. The simple answer is I love the movie. A little more complex answer is I sent a text to our Pop Off Pod GM right after I got out of it and said, just walking out now, gonna need to sit with this one for a minute. And I feel like I've been there. This was last Friday that I saw this. So I feel like I've been in that same place since I walked out of the theater. Just a constant, what did I watch? What was that? It was good, but an important question you have to ask yourself, was it good? Like, was it? Why was it good? And so I've just been sitting with this movie since I watched it, just thinking about it, trying to explore and ultimately understand, because it's not a difficult movie to grasp. Like you said, you just named a million different themes, things you can take away and focus on throughout the movie. But maybe that's what it is. Because there's so much going on, you kind of just have to sit there and go, what was that about? Where's the plot? And I think that speaks to PTA a little more as I've been watching his movies recently. When I walk away from a movie, I love to understand it. I love to be like, I had a grasp on it. And with his movies, with One Battle After Another, I definitely don't feel I have a grasp on it, but I had a great time watching it.
No, that's like literally the perfect response, because I've seen it twice now. I got to see it Thursday night, and I had a long day at work that day, was up early in the morning, and we went to go see it at 7:00 Thursday evening. Technically it's opening night, and I was completely drained afterwards. Like, I was exhausted. Typically after my girlfriend, go and see a movie, we like to have a sleepover afterwards, talk about it. We both just went home. She's like, I'm really tired, I have to wake up early. So she went home, I went home, we slept, and then Friday afternoon, early evening, I went to go see it at 4:30 or 5 with my brother and our friend PG. And then I was in a clearer headspace. So I think Thursday night, walking out, I was like, I loved that movie, but it was a lot. Like, I literally felt exhausted. And then Friday, I get to go see it again at an earlier time, more rest, more energy going into it. And I went from loving the movie to being in love with the movie. I went from 4.5 stars to 5 stars almost immediately. PD and Phil and I ended up going to Christopher's afterwards, our favorite restaurant, and we celebrated. We literally called it a celebration of having seen that movie together. We ate, we drank, we talked about it for hours. And I think that's an interesting thing to consider too. It's like, I'm a huge movie guy. I think all of our friends know that about me. Phil is not. Phil is a guy that, like, he likes movies, but he would never consider himself a movie guy, and he'll be one of the first people to tell you that. And he walked out being like, God damn it, that was a really fucking good movie. And the only other movie that we've seen in theaters together was The Brutalist. And he's like, that was very different than The Brutalist. He's like, that was a lot more fun. I liked it a lot more, but he still enjoyed The Brutalist. But I think that's a great, this is maybe his first quote unquote popcorn movie. I know it's being kind of categorized as that. And that's fair because I think on the surface level, like this is a movie that you can just go in, watch the story, watch it unfold, and have fun and enjoy it and have a blast. But there's definitely some subtext inside of there, except I think the subtext is louder in this movie than it is any of his other movies. Right, this is his most politically charged movie, and I think it's really for everyone. But yeah, it's a fun version of the subtext, and despite all of the darkness of the movie, I think you leave with hope, which is huge because this is a damning testament of the times that we live in now and a very weird reflection of them. But ultimately, you walk out thinking, yes, I have hope for the next generation. I'd love to be a father to a daughter someday. If I could only be so lucky, I'll have the relationship that Willa and Bob have with one another. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's what movies are for. That's what they're about. Sending it's good to have a movie every now and then to remind us life's a little gritty. Sometimes the bad guys win. No Country for Old Men. But it's more enduring, it's more fun to watch. Let's be real. When you're leaving a little optimistic and a little just grasping on the beauty of things, glass half full, rather than a little pessimistic. Ultimately, to say what you're saying, yes, this movie ended in a little hopeful manner, but ultimately it was just filled with so many fun performances and characters, actors playing characters, where
Yes, we'll get to
they
them.
get to be a
We'll
little
get to
goofy.
all of them.
They get to be a little goofy.
Yes.
And ultimately, I think that's something that PTA does. His movies are really fun to watch. Kind of serious actors, be a
Yeah,
little
have some fun.
unserious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny that you say that because, like, I think about, well, one note I wanted to add was that this movie immediately felt rewatchable to me because I wanted to see it the next day. And I enjoyed it more the second time I saw it, even than I did the first. So that's, once it kind of sinks into you, it has that effect of like, you're thinking about one moment or one character or one line reading for days on end. I've seen that all over my Twitter timeline, just different quotes that people are pulling from their brain that are sticking with them. But as far as the performances, I think that especially with this movie, he's doing a brilliant job of getting amazing performances out of non-traditional actors, right? We're going to go into the plot, but really the first 30, 35 minutes or so is Tiana Taylor's movie. This has been
yeah.
billed and marketed as
Wow.
a Leonardo DiCaprio vehicle, but if you think about the first act, it is all on Perfidia, Tiana Taylor's character's shoulders. And then you have people like Alana Haim, who's in her second movie since being in Licorice Pizza, which she was the lead in. You have Dejan, who is just like an indie R&B pop singer who I've never even heard of, but apparently like a bunch of people on Twitter are really excited about. I believe it's Shayla McKellen plays Jungle Pussy, who might have my favorite performance in the entire movie in her limited role. You have a gentleman named James Ratterman, who plays an interrogator in this movie that is kind of like Sean Penn's henchman. And that guy has one IMDb credit, and it's this movie. And apparently he was a former HSI special agent and security consultant. So the reason that he's so scary in this movie is because he's probably drawing from some things in real life. And then you have guys like Howard Somerville, aka the Billy Goat, who is a composer of films. He's not really an actor, and he's just coming in and, the movie's on his shoulders for moments like this. And I think about that with, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Boogie Nights as Scotty J. That's a traditional actor, but he leaves such a lasting impression on you in such a short amount of time. And that's how I feel about Jungle Pussy. So we'll get to all of that. And then I had a couple more big picture things that I wanted to get to. We talked about it on the larger Paul Thomas Anderson podcast with Barter and I. Everybody should go listen to that if you haven't yet. But this is his first modern movie. Punch Drunk Love, I guess you could categorize as modern, but early 2000s, it doesn't really feel that modern while you're watching it. While this one is like intensely modern. And I thought he did such a great job of tackling his anxieties. He's talked about this before with like, I don't want to make a movie with cell phones because cell phones are just, kind of a story killer. So many different issues that we've seen in movies in the 70s, 80s, and 90s can just be completely redacted by, I'm just going to call him. I'm just going to text him. I'm just going to Snapchat him or whatever, or I'm going to find his location. And he did a great job in this movie of taking those anxieties that we have with phones without showing us screens the entire time. So many movies now are like, I'm going to show you a close up of me texting and what that conversation looks like. I mean, we're going through what it's like not to have a phone charger for a little bit, what it's like to forget your password, what it's like to feel like you're being tracked all of the time and having, find my friends, maybe your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend still has your location. You don't want to bump into her, things like that. It's just like, it's so relevant and prescient and timely. And I'm glad that he set a movie in this time because I was nervous going into it and he did it perfectly. I should have never doubted him.
Yeah,
I don't think I did.
and I don't want to see a cell phone screen. I can't think of one instance where anybody's ever pulled off the, hey, look at these messages, maybe they'll put them up in like a translucent bubble up there
Yeah.
and you just see the words going. And it's like, okay, I don't want to see that. That's not a good device to move the story forward. You kind of just accept it. It is what it is, but it's definitely if I was checking boxes, that'd be over in the bad column in a movie of like, we had to do this. And so I really liked how the storyline, the plot, everything made it so that they weren't able to have those, iPhones, smartphones. We had to go back to the off the radar phones. And you're right, it gave us some hilarious scenes in this too. I never thought I'd see Leo. I never thought we'd see that long of a scene with a man and Leo on the phone yelling back and forth and back and forth. And it was the perfect way to introduce that technology without anybody getting bored and actually do the opposite. Just completely ramp the scene up, ramp the story up, get some good laughs in the theater.
Big time laughs. What was your theater experience like? Did you have a big crowd there that Friday night? Like, were people laughing?
I walked in, on me, was kind of surprised how busy it was. I went
Nice.
to the SIE Theater in Denver. Nothing cool, nothing special. Apparently, it's where the Denver Film Society. That's where they meet up. That's where they hang. I don't know what they do. I don't know what
Great
that
crew.
means. It sounds
You got to join.
prestigious, though.
Yeah.
So walked in.
They would be lucky to have you.
I know. It was busy and people were laughing. And I think somebody even came up and kind of gave like a little speech beforehand, like
Nice.
a pre-recorded one on screen. But yeah, it was still personal. And they were just like, welcome to the theaters. We love that, all that magic stuff. I at first thought they were replacing Nicole Kidman, but
the
she still
AMC
came on.
ad? Yeah.
She came on though.
I mean, that's been a huge push. We saw it with Ryan Coogler in Sinners. He's like, this is a theatrical experience. Go to the theater. We shot it on this camera. And that's been a huge push with this as well, which I don't get too into those details. I just want to see the movie and I want to see it on a big screen. If it's 70 millimeter, 35, VistaVision, IMAX, like I saw it on IMAX Thursday night and then the Cinemark XD theater the next day. So 2 huge screens. And I didn't notice too much of a dramatic difference between those 2 formats.
Interesting.
I do think that, it's the end of September, early October, football season's going on. The Ryder Cup just happened, but at least according to my algorithm, which is very PTA coded, and there's literally always PTA content on there somewhere. This really does feel like his moment, which is so exciting and rewarding. Because, a film douchebag like me, I'm constantly screaming at people. I'm like, watch There'll Be Blood, watch Boogie Nights, watch Phantom Thread. So it just feels good that he's having this moment in the spotlight and people are re-exploring his movies and seeing them for the first time and revisiting them. But I think that we'll continue this moment for the next 6 months as, the Academy Awards approach and he's going on the Oscars and the red carpets and everything. So that's exciting. And then my last big picture note is just, it's difficult to articulate, but I think that he does such a great job of blending generations in this movie. This is a guy who is married to Maya Rudolph from Saturday Night Live fame. They have 3 daughters together, all around the same age as Willa. So this is a very personal father-daughter movie to him.
I didn't know they were married.
They're married. Yeah, they've been married for probably 20 years or something like that. But like that he's allowing his children to have an effect on his filmmaking now, which I think is fascinating because if he didn't have those 3 kids, those 3, half black, half white daughters, there's no way that he would have Steely Dan in this movie. He would have done that originally, even without those daughters. The Jackson 5, he probably would have done that without his daughters. But he has Sheck Wes's Mo Bamba in this fucking movie. If you would have told me 3 years ago that we're going to get Mo Bamba in a PTA movie, I would have called you insane. And that's one of the most electric moments in the movie. It's just so fun.
Did you start hitting a little jig with it?
I
Were
did. I
you
mean,
were
I
you
was just,
dancing a little?
I
I
turned and I
had
looked
to.
at Maya and I was like, oh my God, like, is he really doing this right now? Like, this is a vibe.
No, because it's such a, I mean, that song's such a cultural moment for us with just how big it got, and
Oh my God.
it being in college
Enormous.
for us, it was constant repeat. So to hear that, there's a little nostalgia, but it's also, again, with the culture, he's blending that in there, and it just makes for, like what just brought up, you can't help but start busting out a little bit of a groove. I was getting in a little too much. I think at the beginning, had to turn it down a little. Remember, we
But it
are
only
still at the
makes it feel
theaters.
more real, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, I coach basketball now. I coach high schoolers. They just had homecoming this past weekend. Guarantee Mo Bamba played. Absolute guarantee. Like, school dances, Mo Bamba is playing. They're probably playing the clean version. It's not starting with that big time
Respect.
Sheck West, bitch, like, in that sets off the crowd. But yeah, they set it off. All right. So I like that you addressed the kind of confusion that you had after your one viewing, because I think what this pod can do, this episode, can be somewhat of a service to people if we go through the plot one beat at a time and kind of tackle it and just reorganize people's thoughts on it. And if you have any questions, please, I'm by no means an expert on
Yes.
this movie. I have only seen it twice, but I have thought about it a lot. So I'm happy to offer any help where I can. So I want to start
And
with
that's what I'm here for. I'm excited. Okay.
the very beginning of the movie. We see Perfidia walking across a bridge, and it's probably 2008, 2009, somewhere in California near the US Mexico border. She sees a migration detention center, and she's obviously kind of plotting and scheming and seeing the area, scoping it out so that way she can take it to the French 75. So, what do we do then? Well, we get introduced to not just her, but her relationship with Ghetto Pat Calhoun almost immediately, as they are members of this far left revolutionary group known as the French 75. And upon my second viewing, when they are breaking in to this detention center, I heard one of my favorite lines of dialogue I've ever heard. And it's from Jungle Pussy, who again is just one of my favorite characters ever already. They're breaking in. They see a guard who's like half asleep, kind of on watch, and they arrest him. The French 75 does. And Jungle Pussy points a gun at his head, and she says, "Get on your knees, motherfucker, like you're about to suck a dick." Now, what I love about this moment isn't just the fact that he wrote that for this person. It's that you have a really wide shot of the detention center, and this is kind of happening at like the bottom left part of your screen. It's not a close up. It could be missed if you're not paying attention. And it's just one of those things that PTA does where it's like, all right, we're in it. And I totally missed it on the first viewing. But going back to the second night, I was like, oh my God, like there's a thing. That's a thing. I'm going to remember that forever. And so then we go in, and essentially we have our first kind of dramatic interaction, if you will, between one Tiana Taylor, Perfidia, and Sean Penn, Colonel Lockjaw, who we meet for the first time. And Lockjaw is asleep, presumably kind of drunk with like the red solo cups that are sitting around. He's watching Fox News, and she wakes him up with a gun, and she does something very intimate to him where she tells him, "We are declaring war because you try to take control over our body, our freedom, our choices, and I want you to get up." Now, she doesn't just want him to get up. She wants him to get it up, right? She challenges him to get hard in front of her. And immediately, once that sexual tension hits in, that's another reminder that we are in a PTA movie. This is not going to be like any revolution. This is going to be his. It's going to be theirs. And just that one-on-one scene, like what was going on in your head when that's happening? Are you like unsettled? Like, because as a PTA person, like that watches a lot of his movies, loves his movies, has seen them all, I did not expect that. But like when it was happening, I was like, all right, I'm going to be curious how other people respond to this, because it is pretty ridiculous, but it's also real.
Slightly unsettled, sure, but I think mostly just in it for I took it as a comedic whip and just, yeah, took it for that. Had a good laugh at it. Was impressed that the man was getting hard. Thought about his age for a few seconds. Thought, hey,
Mm,
even more impressive now. And then, behind all that, kind of thinking, hey, she's kind of, I'm not thinking she's sexually attracted to this man, but because she's trying to get him to get up, maybe she's got a little power play behind that. She's in it for the revolution, but there's something to be said. She likes that power when she's got a gun to his head. That's not
mm.
enough. What can dance, monkey dance. You know, what can he do? And yeah,
So she, it's hard to go out of sequence, but there's something about Perfidia that I think is so fascinating. It goes right here where after she arrests Lockjaw and puts him behind the cage, they get out. They've, made or they freed what, like 150 to 200 of these immigrants that were arrested. And Leo is setting off the bomb, setting off the fireworks, putting on a show. That's what she wants. She wants this to be a statement of a revolution, a declaration of war. And Leo is, running back to the car. And I think PD said this was his favorite moment, but he goes, fuck the police, viva la revolution. And he just has this adrenaline, this juice. And he gets in the back seat with Perfidia. And she goes, you like black girls, don't you? He's like, hell yeah, I fucking love black girls. Why do you think I'm in this shit? And they're just fired up. And then another like little moment that is so PTA coded, instead of just doing like a regular little kiss, a movie makeout, they are tonguing each other, like tongues in mouths, open kissing, letting it flick. She's telling them to slow down. I mean, she's in control. And you see this throughout the rest of her story. She gets off on the action. Right? Like, I don't know if she could have sex if she's not blowing up something in the background. This is a core tenet to her person.
100%. I mean, wanting to have sex while bombs are going off. It seems like you only see her in that light during exploding moments like that. I mean, even with Lockjaw, there was a whole element, the power play and everything. I'm pretty sure was he bound at all for any of that?
We're going to get to it. Yeah, we're definitely getting to the BDSM. So Pat and Perfidia, we see kind of a montage of them, Ghetto Pat, aka Bob, and Perfidia become lovers as the French 75 carry out attacks on politicians' offices, banks, and even the power grid. And there's a moment where he's blowing up the power grid, and he's like, all right, it's about to go off in 2 minutes. And they're walking towards the car with one another. And she goes, come on, baby, let's fuck now. Let's fuck while the bomb goes off. And again, that's just another moment of she wants to get her rocks off. Even in like the intimate moment where he's tying 2 wires together, he's like hot wiring them, and she's sitting over the couch, like borderline playing with herself. Like it's just little moments like that are like, all right, this is who this person is. We are being introduced to 3 of our 4 main characters really in the first 10 minutes. And we get such a great idea of who they all are in that moment. So then Lockjaw, as they're about to blow up, I can't remember if it's a bank or a office or something like that. It's when Alana Himes, Mae West character, right after the title card comes up, they're planting bombs in bathroom vents. And Perfidia is standing on a toilet, and Lockjaw comes from behind her. He catches her, and he tells her he'll let her go if she returns his gun, his hat, and if he meets her at a motel. And so then we go to the motel, and this is what you're talking about here, where they play a song called Soldier Boy, I believe, and you see Tiana Taylor's arch, which is preposterous. I mean, she is shaped like an absolute goddess. It's actually ridiculous. I understand why Lockjaw is obsessed with her. Let's just say that much. And she essentially slams him against a wall, and he is loving it, and she goes down on him, and instead of the traditional version of going down on a man, she goes down on him from behind with a gun, and I'm pretty sure she takes that gun and jams it up his butt. This is another example of, there. I remember PD asking me afterwards, did Lockjaw, rape her? And I don't think that he did. I think that everything was consensual between them. And I think there was a love and a passion, maybe not love, definitely a lust and a passion there that feels evident, especially in that scene, but every scene leading up to that one as well.
And for a few moments, it kind of seems like, well, you definitely have to question and have those thoughts of, I mean, what was that non-consensual? What was really going on? Because, I mean, she's with it, but she's not with it, but she's with it. But ultimately, I think I have to agree with you. But what I was more thinking of during that scene was, I mean, are we just learning about these characters and just kind of like their perversions, and this is what they're about, and that's all this scene stands alone to do, I guess. But no, ultimately it became the answer was very quick. Not to jump ahead, but with the child in play, that scene serves as just more important than I initially thought at the beginning. Because I was thinking, are we just watching this to watch this? And I was kind of happy ultimately that we weren't, even though it would have been fine, I think. to serve as a just reminder of, hey, look how this is what gets these people off. This is, this is how they present themselves to the world. This is how Lockjaw presents himself, but look what he does behind closed doors. And yeah, ultimately, incredibly important, maybe one of the most important scenes in the film if you really look at it and see how it connects to everything else.
Well, I like that you said that. Like, are we watching this just to watch this? Because I don't think that is ever the case in any of his movies. I feel like every decision is intentional to a point where right after that scene, we immediately cut to a shot of Perfidia pregnant firing a gun.
Oh my
Like
God.
firing the living shit out of an assault rifle, a machine gun, into an empty field. And she goes, "Bitch, I felt like Tony Montana." And she's fired up. And then we have a campfire sequence right after that where Regina Hall, Lady Champagne, Deandra,
Lady
is sitting next to
Champagne.
Bob. And he says to her, he's like, it's like she doesn't even know she's pregnant. And, he's watching her talk to Jungle Pussy. It's so funny saying these names as if they're real people because they feel like real people. But yeah, Perfidia's talking to Jungle Pussy and she goes, "This pussy, you know what this pussy's for? It ain't for love. This pussy's for war," right? Like she's using this thing for war.
Mm.
And that's really the sentiment of that character is that, nothing is going to stop her. Absolutely nothing. Not a baby, not a family. She's a revolutionist and she cannot be stopped. And she might not ever be satisfied until everything is completely upheld and until she becomes the fascist, the dictator that can control terms at her own pace. That was kind of my reading of her to an extent. That might be dramatic, but yeah, man, she is irresistible and borderline intolerable at points, but there's a part of you that's, I mean, you feel like you're definitely cheering for her, right? Like there wasn't ever a part of you was like, I hope Perfidia gets got and learns her lesson.
No, because even though she's kind of doing things that the viewer might say, hey, that's maybe what the bad guy would do, especially when she's shooting somebody in the bank during the robbery and you're like, maybe she's losing her ways a little. That's who she is. But I think you can justify it with her, fighting fighting the big man, sticking it to the man. I think that everybody can kind of sympathize with that to a degree. So maybe morally lost a little at times, I thought, but overall, never heart was always in the right place. And I think more importantly, they got it across so clear on screen that she's revolutionary and she's in it for the fight. So whenever she does something, maybe that's crossing lines, maybe that most people wouldn't agree with, she's never lied to you about who she was. And
Right.
so you can't really be like, she told you she was. Plus, I do have to say, we talked about the machine gun shot with her pregnant. That might be the shot of the movie for me. I mean, I don't know how you beat that. At first, I couldn't tell what was going on there. Like, is she pregnant or I don't know
And then we
I
have
don't
the
know what's
mirrored
going on with
shot
you.
later in the movie when, I mean, we're skipping ahead a lot, but Willa is at the like nun convent where they grow pot. And it's the exact same shot. She's firing off that gun, same profiling, same framing and
Yeah.
everything. And it's just, like mother, like daughter, even if she didn't get the opportunity to raise her daughter. And then we go from there to the birth and we have a baby girl now. And so there's an expectation with Ghetto Pat that, Perfidia is going to settle down a little bit now that Charlene is in the picture and he's trying to persuade her to live as a family. You don't have to do these things anymore. You don't have to be this revolutionist that you have been previously because we have somebody to take care of now, right? Like this is its own battle, its own fight to raise a child together. And there's this beautiful moment where, she comes out, she's wearing her hat, she's wearing her gear, ready to go to war. And she looks at both of them and she has like one moment where she's thinking to herself, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can be a mother. I can stay home. But ultimately she resists and she has to do what she has to do. And that's actually preceded by, I think, another really telling moment where Pat is sitting down with Perfidia's mother. She's an older woman and she says, "You are not the right man for my daughter." And you're like,
Yeah.
what? Like, it feels like they really love each other. Like they love blowing shit up. They feel like a match made in heaven. And she says to him, she's the daughter of revolutionaries. She's like a third generation revolutionist. And you're a stone. Like you are not actually built like that. No matter how much you might pretend to be or how much you've sold her, that's not at the root of you. That's not who you are. And I think that was another telling moment. But that leads into the bank sequence. I mean, I think I've 3 favorite scenes in this movie thus far, this is one of them. The bank scene is, I mean, I'm never going to forget seeing this in the theater. This is a thrill. It reminds me of Heat. It reminds me of just pure power on screen. And it's another example of PTA giving a minor, quote unquote, character the space to dominate. And Jungle Pussy comes in. She slams herself up on the top of the bank. She's looking at everybody and she tells them explicitly, she pulls down her mask. She says, "You see my face? This is what Black Power looks like. I don't want you. I just want your money. Your money supplies my weapons, my artillery, my transformation." That set it off shit right here. And as she's going on this rant, this powerful speech, you just hear on the left side of your ear, which is like, this is why you see it in a theater, because you don't see it coming. You just hear a bang, bang, 2 gunshots going off. And man, that's that set it off shit. Like, I had literal adrenaline going from my toes to my eyelashes during this moment. I'm still getting them right now. Like, I get chills when I think of it. But Perfidia has shot a bank security guard.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could kind of feel, I thought, the tone immediately switch from she gets up there and gives that demanding, roaring speech, basically professes it to the world, in our, as we're watching, that's what it feels like. And then, so they have all the power, they're holding it. We've seen them go on revolution, mission after mission. And this just kind of, they probably done some bad shit, but this makes it feel like the power's switched a little. And it's like, okay, in my eyes, I know bank security officer, that's right in the movie world, that's right up there with a cop for me. I'm like, they're going to be after you. I can already know the whole squadron's coming. I didn't really see anybody checking to see if people were pressing buttons too hard, maybe getting a little sloppy. And so you could tell our main characters are in trouble here. We're riding the high. We knew it had to end, and I can tell you can sense the growing danger and where this movie's headed after that, for the French 75 at least.
And I think it's important that great name. French 75 is a badass name, but I think it's telling that we don't see what that security guard had done. Right? It's just happening over here. We're watching Jungle Pussy. All eyes are on Jungle Pussy when she gets in that bank. All of the little citizens on the ground, they're like, damn, she has a point. She's crushing this right now. Like, this is like, college football coach before the SEC championship. This is some Kirby Smart shit going on right now, dog. Like, I've seen this on Twitter. I've never seen it in real life. And then in the background, you have Perfidia, who's got all of these intense emotions. Like, she's just given us this monologue about how she's like, is it weird that I'm jealous of my baby because she's the one that's getting the attention from Ghetto Pat now? And all of these emotions are surfacing and it's gone too far. And so she shoots him, she kills him. And then that's when we have really our first, I think our very first chase sequence of the movie, where they get in 2 different cars, they're off. And I mean, this is PTA just flexing his muscles. He's like, yeah, I can do people talking in rooms better than anybody. Like, I'm the best at that because I write the best, I direct the best. I can make a husband and a wife having a normal conversation as dramatic as anything. But I can also do car chases. Watch this shit. And he does it. Even just like the little bumps in the back, the fender benders that are escalated. And then we have the helicopter with the drone shot. But the getaway drivers were insane. I always think to myself during those getaway driving things, I'm like, maybe stop speeding and just try to blend into traffic a little bit. Like, pull over earlier when they would least expect it. Because I think the expectation for the cops is they're going to be driving 120 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone. It's like, what are you doing here? I feel like I would be pretty good at it, but maybe I'm not enough of a risk taker.
I feel like this one was more of a realistic getaway chase. You always see them. They're pretty clean, minor almost brushes with danger. And it's like, ooh, they got away. They made it. But this was more like, yeah, okay, if any of us was doing a getaway, yeah, definitely be bumping into this, bumping into that, doing as well we can till shit just ran to parked car in front of us. I think we all got a dip. It felt pretty realistic in that way, but in the sense as movies go, what a terrible getaway drive. Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
I'll leave it at
absolutely
that.
booking it when she's on foot too. Like it's so fun just watching her sprint and the close up of her face, and like you see like the little curled eyelash that she has on each eyelid. It's really beautiful stuff. But
Hey,
yeah, man,
we've seen
the
her
Jungle
train for
Pussy
that
scene, it's
moment.
my favorite. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, she's been running in her like dry fit gear.
it's definitely up there. I'll let you know when we get to it. My favorite moment. It hasn't quite happened. It's probably not too hard to guess. Great spot
I
in the
think it's
movie,
probably
but
one of my top three. All right, so then we go into Lockjaw capturing Perfidia. She is now,
mhm.
in a wheelchair, and there's like 55 cops behind her, and they're filming her. And she lifts her hand from underneath her blanket and flips everybody off as they're trying to record her. I thought that was such a great moment. She's like, even to the bitter end, she's still resisting. But she's in this hospital bed, bumped and bruised on her face, and Lockjaw is sitting right next to her. And he essentially challenges her. He's like, hey, I can, get you out of this. I can get you out of federal prison for the next 30 to 40 years, but you got to name names. And so this is the moment where she has to snitch. She has to be Henry Hill and Goodfellas and go in a witness protection program. And man, it's just so devastating to see our girl go down like this. Like I never thought she would have been the one to snitch, but sometimes those are the people that snitch. It's the ones that you least expect. And we then see a montage of all of the French 75 members that we've seen thus far. We haven't mentioned Wood Harris, who a lot of people might know from, Remember the Titans. But we also see Alana Haim, and she's like in this convenience store. She's wearing the uh, Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction wig, like the black in the convenience store. She goes out the back and boom, gets shot in the head, just like that. Wood Harris is in a gunfight. We see Jungle Pussy get arrested. We see Dijon get away, thankfully. But yeah, just this montage. It's beautifully shot. It's devastating. It's action packed, and it's an understanding that the French 75 is dying right in front of our eyes. And you know, now we
Quite
know that
literally. Yeah,
Ghetto Pat is gonna have to get out of here. Yeah, he's gonna have to go away from there.
yeah. I didn't think that they would just be headshotting on site out there, but they really were. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just expected
killing them, not
everyone's
arresting
gonna
them,
get
killing
taken
them.
into custody. It was like first orders to kill, but I guess if you have to, let's take them in, see what we can learn. Which I think they wanted a little 50-50 because they wanted to they wanted to find some of the people, and then they also knew they didn't need everybody, so we'll kill half, and then we'll use the rest and interrogate them. And then honestly, we don't know their fate. They probably ended up just getting killed later. But
That's a great
yeah,
point.
what a charged moment in the movie, definitely.
Yeah. So then we see Billy Goat go to Pat's house, and he has baby Charlene, and it's chaos. Baby Charlene is crying in the background, and he's like, I have two transmitters for you. These devices are very important. Do not lose them. When you're within 300, 400 yards of someone, they're both going to make a sound. They're going to go off. You know that you can trust them. We're not just handing this out to anybody. So this is essentially a trust device. And from there, that's essentially our end of the first act. And we move into the second act where, man, oh
Crazy.
man, I think from this point on in the movie, I don't think there's any point in the movie that you can go to the bathroom. Like, I don't know what that point would be. But from the moment that we see Chase Infinity for the first time in the dojo with Sensei, and they drop the Steely Dan song, Fool to Do Your Dirty Work, that's when you know. You're like, all right, here we go. This is the rest of the movie. It's time to kick some ass. I just thought the fact that Willa knows karate is so reminiscent of Boogie Nights, because Mark Wahlberg's character Eddie Adams like prides himself. He says literally in the movie, "I know fucking karate," and the fact that she's doing that, it feels like a nice perfect circle moment between his first big movie and his most recent big movie. I really loved that. Yeah, great callback. I love the callbacks that he does. There's a couple of those in this movie that are really special. But yeah, they're now in Backton Cross. It is a sanctuary city for essentially immigrants that have come from Mexico, and that is going to come back to bite them in the ass a little bit later. But it's Northern California. We should mention that I forgot to mention the "this pussy don't pop for you" note when Charlene escapes her witness protection program and goes down to Mexico and is actually there. Forgot to mention that, but that's an important note. But yeah, 16 years later, Willa knows fucking karate, and we see really our first shot of Leo. I feel like he's activated in this moment. He's in a car about to go into parent teacher conferences, and he's ripping a pipe. He's smoking pot in his car all by himself, goes in to meet her history teacher and just lectures her. He's vaping in front of her and he's saying essentially like, I hope they're teaching the right kind of history in here, man. A lot of slave owners in this place. A lot of slave owners, dude. And that's just like, all right, yeah, we're in Leo's hands now. Like I
That was
loved my time with
beautiful.
Tiana Taylor. She was brilliant, but yeah, this is Bob Ferguson's movie now.
And it's showing like, hey, this is you saw the French Revolution, not French revolutionist, the
French
French
75.
75 revolutionist, Leo. And you saw what he was like in when he's with them, kind of like the grandma said, he doesn't quite he doesn't hold a candle to how about it and revolutionary Tiana Taylor's character will get. But when he's functioning in the normal society, you can see there's that little rebel in him. Here's him coming out and going, well, that whole dialogue when he's just correcting her history and saying all that shit, you can tell he's unhinged to a degree, but just as, normal functioning people of society would look at him and say, that's what you are. To him, he's still got that resistance in him, and he's
Yes.
just everything comes off as, typically you'd be like, hey, you're right, but you sound a little nutty when you're saying this. When Leo's saying it, you're like, let her know. Bunch of slave
Yeah.
owners around here. I'm not liking that, man. You're right. This is a bad teacher. You're high as fuck, just operating and letting her know what it is.
But we have no evidence that she's a bad teacher. She's just a high school history teacher. She's just doing her job. She's just, whatever rubric they hand her, she is regurgitating it back to the students.
You're right.
And
That's,
I mean,
that's what's bad.
She looks like a progressive woman. She's got like the weird little like dream catcher earrings, like the nose ring, all of that kind of stuff. But he is, paranoid. He's more weak than he once was. He's not as athletic as he once was. He's older than he was, and he's a father to a daughter now. But he's a father to a daughter that loves drinking and driving, listening to Steely Dan, trying to emulate their sound with a piece of music technology that his buddy found that he used to be in a band with. Yeah, I think this is just a great like reintroduction to who this character is. And so Bacton Cross is like this sanctuary city, they call it. It's a safe haven for these immigrants, which I think is just perfect storytelling. But then we go into maybe my favorite scene of the movie, where we really see Willa and Bob for the first time together. And Bob had a late night out with the boys. She is ridiculing him for it. She's like, dude, it's like 3:30 p.m. and you're just waking up now. He's like, honey, this coffee isn't even warm. He's like, no shit, the coffee's not warm. She made it literally 6.5 hours ago.
And it was such a little, such a small little moment in that's like, you could totally miss that because it is such a like most insignificant line in that dialogue. But I think that got a good laugh out of everybody in the theater. You're kind of locked in and like, oh, we've all seen this before. A young daughter raising her dad, should be the other way around. At least he doesn't seem like that bad. And then they just throw in, oh, this isn't even. And you're just like, no, I'm back. Like I never left, but that's hilarious.
He's so fucking immature because she's like talking to him. She's like, how did you even get home last night? He's like, well, I drove. She's like, you drove? He's like, honey, I know how to drink and drive. It's very, like you're saying, like it's the flipped interaction to a T. And
what are you, my mother?
Yes, exactly. And she's like, I don't want to have to be, I don't want you to wrap your car around a tree. I don't want to be up late night worrying about you. And he goes, you know what? You're right. He's like, you're right. You should stand up for yourself. Like it's important to him to like have a daughter that'll stand up for herself. And meanwhile, like we don't even realize it, but she's wearing this nice skirt and this black leather jacket, and she's getting ready to go to a dance with her friends, not her boyfriend, just a few friends. She has a they them friend. She has a like a little shorter Mexican friend named Bluto, and then a white girlfriend. And they pull up to this essentially a hermit shell of a house. Like he is a full functioning hermit. They come and it's just a little red car, and that's when we really see the paranoia kick in. He's like, they're just going to drive up to our house like that? Seems pretty loud, doesn't it? And it's like, it's just a car, dude. Like, relax. And he storms to the door, and this is when he just takes shape. Like he takes over the theater. He takes over the movie. This is the most Rick Dalton like I've ever seen in another one of his performances, where he's just going nuts and opens the door. He says, "What's up, homie?" Like the "What's up, homie" is just so. That's gonna another scene that'll live in my head forever. And I love when he grabs Bluto around the neck and he looks at him. He's like, whispers in his ear. He goes, "Whatever you fucking do to her, I'm gonna do to your entire fucking family." She's like, "What are you talking about, Dad?" He's like, "Nothing, baby. We're talking about freedom. What's up, homie? You cool, homie? You good?" It's just so perfect, dude. He's the only person that can do that, man. Like, there's nobody else that could pull
Oh,
that off legitimately.
no, I'm crying thinking about that, and you just never escape it. Poor Bluto, that whole scene.
Dude,
He
poor
yells out
Bluto,
to her,
bro.
and Bluto turns around and says, "What?" He says, "I'm not talking to USA. Get in the car." Like, dude, I
Not
think I
USA.
was in tears during that whole scene
And
because
it's the escalator, right? Like it starts out
yeah,
funny and only gets
oh,
progressively funnier, dude. Like the entire theater was erupting by that point. Like we saw it Thursday night with like probably 100 people, and we saw it Friday afternoon with like 20 people, and still you can hear the laughs. It's paying off, and it what's really fascinating about this movie too is like the collective amount of minutes where we see Willa and Bob together, like the actual father and daughter, it's like maybe 11 minutes of the movie. Like when she's 16 years old and he's a fully functioning dad. If you bring in the baby parts, maybe 13 minutes, something like that. But it's not a lot. But it's that scene alone that sets the stage for like, okay, he loves her, she loves him. They have issues, obviously, because he's a fucking weirdo. Um, Petey kept like just looking over at me, goes, "He's such a fucking loser." And he is. He's a total loser, dude. They live in a shitty house. He probably has I don't even know what his job could possibly be. But yeah, man, that scene it's a forever scene.
yeah, we have no idea what he does, right?
No clue. I mean,
Yeah,
we know that
he
he
just
still listens in on the revolution. Like he has
hmm
the radio, and so she's been growing up hearing that in her entire life. But I think it's really interesting that, she's 16 now. And when you get to that age, I'm sure you remember this, like you think you're smarter than you are. You definitely think you're smarter than your parents. You feel like you're
hmm
more up to date, in tune with what's current, what's hip, what's new, but what's happening in the world. But you're also starting to realize, like, damn, some of the shit I was taught when I was growing up is kind of messed up. Why was I taught that way? Right. So she's like looking at him, and he was probably her hero for the first 10, 11 years of her life. But now she's looking at him like, damn, this guy's a drunk, he's a pothead, and he's a loser. But
and it
she
makes
still
me
loves him
carry this
regardless.
stupid device around everywhere.
Yes, and that's the thing is he tells her, before you leave, you're not fucking leaving without it. And thank God she does. She takes the transmission device, and then I think this is a good place to go over to Lockjaw, because I think this is where we go in the movie. He leads a military unit called the MKU, which I think is just pretty much a direct stand-in for ICE. And they're a division that just wreaks havoc, right? And so he is invited to a special club called the Christmas Adventurers. And he goes to one of the leaders of the Christmas Adventurers' daughter's wedding through the back door, and he meets them for the first time. And this is the most Doctor Strangelove the movie gets. It's the weirdest the movie gets. It's perhaps the funniest the movie gets because it's so ridiculous in how it portrays these obvious white supremacists. The moment when the really old man, I think it's Jim Downey, says, "You're just like us. Your mission in life is the same as ours. Our mission is to get rid of the Earth's lunatics, haters, and punk trash." And that line delivery coming from an 84-year-old man, when he said the word haters, I almost pissed myself. I was like rolling over laughing. And this is all that Lockjaw's ever wanted, was to be accepted into this club. He has climbed the military ranks from sergeant to colonel, like probably a private when he was younger. And he's done the impossible. But what he wants more than anything is to be accepted into the Christmas Adventurers Club because they are superior humans. What did you think of the Christmas Adventurers?
Well, from start to finish, you know, walking in, you can tell this is some kind of higher society gentleman's club that he's joining. And then,
Illuminati, yeah.
yeah, esque. They kind of bring him up to speed, bring us up to speed. And I'm initially thinking,
Who the fuck are these guys?
who the fuck are these guys? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then to find out that they're basically just a group of white supremacists, we're the best, we have to exterminate and purify the world. It was like just one of those moments in this movie, and there were quite a few. And another thing that led to my ultimate, like, I really need to sit with this, was like, wow, for some reason, I was just really not expecting that. And just
Yeah.
the way they go around, they're like, we're not special in any way, but we are when we're in this club, genetically and everything. I'm pretty sure they said we're not superior than any other white people. They're probably just talking about white people, but we are because of the group we're in. And
Yes.
so basically, this whole higher calling, we're not special, but we're chosen kind of thing. Uh, I thought it was pretty silly, pretty funny to be watching. And especially just, I thought they were punking him at first because
Yeah.
Lockjaw is such a weird, interesting guy.
Such a weirdo. The
And
hair.
the hair, the walk, everything, the weird pervert, just a ultimate weirdo hippie dude. Even though he's not
Complete
a hippie, but
maniac.
just watched Inherent
Yeah.
Vice the other day, so needed to throw hippie in there. But yeah, basically just watched it through those lens.
So I think that this, when I originally saw it, I was kind of confused. I'm like, why is that in the movie?
Yeah,
And the second time around, the first time I thought it was like a humorous side quest, right? Like it was just, we're going to introduce these guys and make fun of white supremacists. I figured out the why. I think I figured out the why. And it comes when Lockjaw is essentially being interviewed by them and they're asking him all of these questions. And one of the questions they ask him is, have you ever been in an interracial relationship? And he kind of scoffs. He goes, no, right? It's in that moment that he realizes, okay, if I want to be a Christmas adventurer, then I have to get rid of any evidence that I have ever been in an interracial relationship. And there's potentially a 16-year-old person out there who is literal physical walking human evidence of me having had sex with a black woman. And so that motivation to be a Christmas adventurer is the reason, the why for the rest of the movie. It's why Lockjaw tells, I think it's Avanti Q is the bounty hunter, the Indian bounty hunter, to go find somebody in the French 75. I don't care who. So that way we can interrogate them and intimidate them into telling us, where is my potential daughter? Right. And so they get that information from Billy Goat after Avanti Q, arrests him, gives him over to the interrogator, who, again, the interrogator I think is just brilliant in this movie. And they come and they tell Lockjaw, all right, they're in Bacton Cross. And so what does he do? He says, I need to find a reason to go to Bacton Cross. And I can't just, take my MKU army up there just to find my daughter. I have to come up with some kind of, I don't know, efficiency to get up there. And so he finds out that Bacton Cross is a sanctuary city for Mexicans. And he's like, we're going to go after the frozen chicken place that makes chicken nuggets that these white supremacists really like. He's like, I really like those nuggets. And we're going to, frame them as a front for a heroin producing industry, right? It's a front for this. So that is why Christmas Adventurers exist. It is just to get Lockjaw to Bacton Cross because it's a movie and we need that dramatic tension. Does that make sense?
no, it does make sense. It kind of makes me wonder. I mean, maybe they're so secret, and if this is something he's always wanted to do, I would like to think he knew about their racial preferences and their kind of white supremacist nature. So for him, I don't like to think he'd be a little surprised by like, this is what I need to do, but maybe just speak to more of his carelessness here and there. And something we didn't touch on that would perfectly tie into this is when he runs up to Bob in the store earlier in the
Oh my
movie,
God.
and he has the iconic scene quote where he just is a stranger asking another man, do you like black women?
Yeah. I
Awkward
love him.
pause. He loves them. He loves them. And so, maybe it was something he loved so much that he just couldn't resist it, even though he knew that these were the qualifications for this elite group he wanted to join all his life. But that's then, once he got so close, is when everything you just brought came into point where he's like, I got to cover my back.
I think that might be the only moment of the movie where Lockjaw and Bob are on the screen together. Like they have, the sniping incident later, but that moment in the convenience store when he's buying a baby bottle and yeah, he says to him, he's like, you have a baby? He was like, yeah, I have a baby. He's like, boy or girl? He goes, girl. He goes, what's her name? Says Charlene. Says, sounds like a black name. You like black women? Because I love them. And then Bob looks at him. He's like scared shitless because he knows who Lockjaw is, but the rest of the movie is just paranoid about Lockjaw's existence. So now Lockjaw and his MKU team are going to Backton Cross. We know they're going to Backton Cross. He even says a little thing. He's like, find me a place where the teeny boppers hang out. And so he just decides to send part of his unit in the helicopter to the high school, and the rest of his unit is going to go to the residence of Bob Ferguson. We go to the high school dance, and Mo Bamba's playing. We talked about that. She goes to the bathroom, and in the bathroom, you know, there's a bunch of girls talking. Oh my God, did this guy film that? Did they get it on a video? That's great. It's just, you know, regular high school girl talk. And we see her, and this is one of my favorite moments too. And there's just a look of shock on her face because her transmitter is going off. And now Lady Champagne, Regina Hall, is here to save the day. And the camera doesn't move. We only see Regina in the mirror talking to her. And she's like, my dad told me if anybody ever said those words to me, she does a little passcode thing, that I should trust them with my life. And then they are off.
Which I was happy worked out that way, because with the transmitter, I was a little confused at first how, you know, is it the best to vocally advertise? You know, maybe there's some enemies around when both of you are together. It was such a dead giveaway. But for it to work out like that, it was like, okay, rest assured, that's not happening, at least in this moment. She's getting saved. Get her out of there.
But it's that moment where the frequency of the movie changes. It's like, all right, we're in full-blown escape, panic, run as far as you can away from Lockjaw mode, right? Because we know what he's capable of. He's got a whole military at his back. And while that is happening, Bob is smoking pot, watching Battle of the Algiers, and he gets a phone call. And a woman starts talking to him, and she essentially starts speaking in code, and he's getting, you know, he's remembering some of the code, but he's having to think about it. And he says to her, you're going to have to remind me. I don't know what time it is because, well, frankly, I got a little bit high. And he's like, I've been frying my brain the last 30 years. I can't remember the fucking passcode. Just help me out. Tell me where the rendezvous point is because I need to find my daughter. And she tells him, Lockjaw's coming. You got to leave. And so he does, and he leaves through a tunnel. Lockjaw and his crew come into the house. They find out that he's in a tunnel, and they drop tear gas down into the tunnel right as Bob is about to escape it. A little bit catches his eyes, and that is just enough to impale him. And so he sprints to like a really crappy convenience store where he goes in the bathroom, starts rinsing out his eyes, and he's freaked out, steals a pair of sunglasses, and this is our first real Leo acting with a phone moment. Goes to the payphone. There's cop cars flying by him. The local police are involved in this chase. Everybody is involved. Lockjaw has every single law enforcement authority that he could possibly get on his side, trying to find these two people and take care of the, you know, heroin producers or whatever. And he gets on the phone, and it's not the same woman that he was talking to earlier. It's a man now. And I think it's Comrade Josh is his name. And this moment is just, I mean, this was the first, like, I remember 2 years ago now, I think, TMZ had footage of Leo in this outfit, this robe, this hat, these sunglasses, which are absolutely iconic now, the pajama pants. And I was like,
Halloween
what could this
costume.
movie possibly be? It will be my Halloween costume. I'm like, what could this movie possibly be about where Leo needs to be on a, you know, a payphone? Like, and it completely paid off. Like him calling him, you know, the R word and saying a bunch of radicalist things and challenging his manhood over the phone, and then he hangs up on him. He's like, did this motherfucker just hang up on me? And he slams it shut. I mean, that's as good as it gets right there. That's phone acting at its finest. That's acting at its finest.
Yeah, just having to hear Comrade Josh's voice over the phone the whole time, and then right when this is a long kind of gimmick or the thing that's going on in the movie. Him trying to get the code, destination, all of this, all happening while he's running around with Sensei. Yeah,
Sensei Sergio.
he's running around with him. And then we finally get to see, you know, towards the end, Comrade Josh's voice, and to just see the other rebel there who knew Leo's character, and for him to just go, you know, you don't remember the code, but you'll remember this one. And for him to just go, what kind of pussy do I like? You know, he gives him the answer.
Hairless. Yep.
Mexican hairless.
So that's the second phone sequence, and it's so fucking brilliant because he goes from that first payphone, and he's like, where can I go? And so he goes to the sensei's dojo and he's like banging on his glass door. And Benicio, this is like really when we're introduced to him for the first time, who is the most, oh my God. I mean, every performance in this is just one for the record books, but he stands up, walks over the door, and Bob is out there with his sunglasses on. He's like, who are you? Do you need help? And then Bob lifts his sunglasses. He's like, oh, Bob. Bob, come on in, dude. Opens the door for him.
It's me,
Bob
Bob.
immediately runs to the back and he's like looking for a gun. He's like, do you have a gun? All I can find is fucking nunchucks. And he's like, Bob, relax, Bob. We're going to go back to my place. And I love that line of like, we're just going to go back to my place, because that is like, you know, you're out at the bars with your boys. It's, 1:45 in the morning. You're super drunk and you just need a home base, dude. And one of your boys says, we'll just go back to my place. There's nothing more comforting than that, right? Like that is like that sigh of relief that you have at the end of the night after a long night out. You're like, I just need to get out of public because these people are freaking me out and I'm way too drunk to be in public. And he's just like, we'll just go to my place. So they go back to his
There's
place.
a gun there.
There is a gun there. And not only is it his place, like when he said we're going to go back to my place, I imagined like a house kind of like Bob's, not the nicest house. This guy just owns a dojo. He lives above a vape shop, I think. And there's like 20 rooms up there. And he's essentially running an underground railroad for Mexican immigrants. Like he is the sensei for all of these people. And there's skateboarders and there's World War III going on outside. And there's a riot and there's fires and explosions. And just even that subtle moment in the vape shop where he talks to the woman behind the counter and she's like, talks to her son. She's like, you're going to take the door. All right. You're going to get off your phone. Get off your phone. And Bob's still trying to find a charger for his phone. And Bob thinks he's talking to him. He's like so confused. He's like, what? I need to find a charger, dude. And she's talking to the kid. And I mean, then we go into the second phone scene, which you're talking about. And he's rescued by the Mexican hairless, which is Dejan's favorite kind of pussy. This is just, I mean, this is like a 8 to 9 minute sequence. And
it feels so long, and not in a bad way.
Yes.
Just there's so much going on between him and the phone guy and the password to get these coordinates. And like you just brought up, come to find Sensei is like the unofficial rebellious leader of the town. Everybody's freaking outside. Sensei's the calmest man in the room.
Yes.
Like, I have a plan. He's like, I have ears everywhere running around these streets. And you're just
a
like,
network.
What? What?
And he's handing him Modelos like the entire time. He's like, here's a Modelo. Relax. Ocean waves, Bob. Ocean waves. Okay, just calm down. We got this. He says something really funny too. He's like, I think it's even before they leave for his place. He says, yeah, I kind of have like an underground railroad for a Latino Harriet Tubman thing going on right now. So Bob isn't the only one that's panicking. All of these Mexican immigrants who have been living here the last 15 to 20 years, or whatever it is, or maybe the last 12 to 18 months, they're panicking because they're like, shit, like they're coming for us, right? So Bob isn't the only one that's panicking. It's all of these people that are like, well, what are we going to do now? We have to escape and go through this underground railroad. But yeah, then we have Bob running on roofs with a rifle in hand and a bunch of skateboarders. And
skateboarders. Yeah,
the skateboarders are so cool.
So like, take him to the roof. Just get them there. And you just have the hilarious montage of watching professional parkour people essentially just hop and dive over the roof. And you're like, that was sick. And then Bob is like, coming on camera, like right behind him, just like any of us would be like, wait up, you little ninjas.
Yeah, dude, he's just lumbering over these roofs, and impressively so to a point. Like he's going down ladders a little bit slower, but he's keeping up at least enough, but he can't be carrying the gun. They need to carry it for him. But then we have him, we think he's going to get away scot-free. We're feeling pretty good about Bob. He's with the skateboarders. And right when we feel good about it, he falls down a 4-story roof, can't grab onto the tree and save himself, and just falls right on his face. And follows that up with getting tased by the local authorities.
Not even 5 seconds later, you're like, oh, what a close one. Something could bad have happened there.
Yeah.
And then to immediately just go to the ground, you're like, oh, Bob, he really can't catch a break right now. Really telling of who his character is and kind of where his luck falls in life. And then that was probably my favorite little montage of sequence leading up to him getting tased, of just watching those skateboarders running around. That was just the coolest thing.
So cool. And so while all of this is happening, Willa is still, She's with Lady Champagne, and they're driving to, we don't know where yet, but we know that they're going to some kind of revolutionary place where there are like-minded folks there. And she had told Lady Champagne earlier in the bathroom that she didn't have a cell phone with her. Um, Turns out she does. It turns out the interrogator gets her phone number from one of her friends, and that's how they track her.
Hey, them.
And where is she headed? She is headed to, I want to get this right. I want to say it's the Lady of the Beaver or something. I can't get it off the top of my head, but something along those lines. Essentially, it is a convent for nuns who are revolutionaries, and they grow weed
Girl
and they
weed.
have machine guns. Like they are weaponized. They're ready to roll. They're ready for action. And I think there's a really interesting thing in this movie where, we see Perfidia with a machine gun. We see Willa with a machine gun. We see all of the nuns strapped up. It's really important to Bob that he gets a gun from Sensei, and not one of those people use a gun successfully other than Perfidia in the bank when she shoots the security guard. Everybody else, it's like, the nuns, they get essentially contained immediately when Lockjaw's people get there, right? When Bob has the opportunity to snipe down Lockjaw when he gets there later, he misses. And there's this like really interesting aspect that the only people that use guns successfully are Perfidia in the bank robbery, and then Willow at the end of the movie when she has a red dot on Tim Smith, who we'll talk about later. But that's getting ahead of it. But anyways, this is where Willa with Deandra is informed by kind of the head of the nuns that her mom was a snitch. And so everything in her life is crumbling before her. She's been led to believe her entire life that her mom died, a hero, and now she knows that she's potentially alive, maybe, and she was definitely a snitch. And that's confirmed by Deandra. And so, yeah, man, what a revelation. I mean, I can't imagine finding out that my mother, whom I love dearly, she's been in my life my entire life, but finding out she was a snitch, I would just be, my world would turn upside down if it hadn't already, with Lady Champagne showing up to the dance when Mo Bamba was playing.
And you can tell it affected her. You can tell her world did come crumbling down a little where, she was pretty upset about it. She asked Deandra, point blank, let me know what's going on.
Yep.
A common theme through all these revolutionists in the French 75 is that they don't really shy away from the truth.
Yes.
Leo's character, but that's the dad thing. He left the revolution. She was point blank with her. I think that helped Willow's character kind of come to terms with it a lot more quickly. Also being around the revolutionaries, you kind of realize, maybe this life is a little more glamorous sounding than it is to actually live with. There's a moment where I'm not sure what happened now that we're talking about this to Deandra's character, but she's been around the block. Like you said, the nuns, they had the guns. That could have been something. They were taken. They were restricted fairly quickly, and Regina's character or Deandra left. Now I don't recall if I saw her getting captured. Did
So
she
she ends
sneak
up
out?
getting interrogated later
Mm,
by the interrogator, and
they
he's
did get
essentially
her.
telling her, you're going to face 30 to 40 years in prison, or you can tell us where Bob is. And she doesn't know where Bob is. And she's telling him, I swear to God, I don't know where Bob is. And he looks her dead in the eyes. He goes, Deandra, do you know how many times people swear to God that they don't know where somebody is? He's like, it's simple. Just tell me where he is, and you might face 40 years in prison. Otherwise, you're going to die.
I thought it was interesting that once everything became quiet, you could kind of tell she'd been around the block. She was like, this is
Mm-hmm.
not good. She
Yep.
got out of there. I wonder if she was, you don't really know why, or I guess you can't really answer this question if she was, kind of going to go scout by herself, if she realized what was up immediately and knew every man for themselves in this revolution. Leave the girl behind. They'll take her. Maybe I can get away. Obviously, that didn't work out. But I always kind of thought what
Yeah.
was going on behind the scenes there. What was she thinking
Yeah, I'd
about there?
imagine it's a protection instinct. I'm going to go fight these people, going to go shoot them. But then, yeah, she just got arrested immediately.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely a valid question. Like, what was her end goal? What happened to her? Because, again, so much happens in this movie. It's easy to get lost in some of these little details. So, Lockjaw and the MKU are burning back Time Cross down to the ground. And then we have our next Christmas adventurer scene. And this one is just unlike any other scene in the movie, where new character shows up an hour and 40 minutes into the movie, maybe even later. His name is Tim Smith. and he is going into a really nice house in the suburbs. Looks like a white supremacist house. Gorgeous. We've all seen these houses before. I mean, just, south of Grand Des Moines, like you're going to see some houses like this. And he walks in and he meets Alice. And she's like, "Oh, are you hungry? I can make some banana pancakes." He's like, "Your famous banana pancakes? I'm afraid I might be running a little bit late if I eat those." Goes downstairs and then goes into a tunnel after opening a door, which is like the most gorgeous door I've ever seen, like this pencil drawing on the wall of like a forested area and a bridge. And he's walking through the tunnel, does a secret knock, and goes into the Christmas Adventurers
Nice.
Club. And they give him a little bit of clarity as to why he's there today. And essentially, they tell him, "There's this guy, Colonel Lockjaw. We're thinking about initiating him into the club, but as it turns out, some of our sources told us he might, have had sex with a black woman. Okay? And we need you to clean it up." So he's the cleaner upper. That's very clear. And not only does he have to clean up Lockjaw, he needs to clean up Willow as well. Because if that guy survives and this, spreads across our supremacist organization, it's going to look bad on us. Okay? So take care of this, clean it up. And that really old man says, "I want it to be so clean that we can eat it off the floor." And it's clear we have a new character in the mix. You kind of forget about him for a while because you're like, all right, what's this guy's deal? And he shows up in a very dramatic fashion a little bit later. But what
Dude,
did you
and
think about our next Christmas adventures? Go ahead.
I thought I was actually very confused about who, because it was a new character. My initial thought is they're not introducing a new character an hour 40 in. So I thought it was the guy, the guy whose daughter was getting married at the first Christmas Adventures
Yep.
meetup.
Yep.
I
Because
thought
they
it was
look alike.
him.
They're just both
They look
regular white
alike.
dudes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure these are the same people. And then you see him in the meeting. And even then I was like, did I see that other guy there? I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But like
Yep.
something in your gut's telling you this is a different character. Trust the gut. Realize that. They were a little cryptic with, I mean, you knew. I think when I walked away, I was debating, is he going to
Go
kill
kill
or is he going
Lockjaw?
to do
Yep.
some further recon and then maybe make a judgment call there.
Sure.
Ultimately, as we're leading up to it, you kind of realize, where he's going. But I mean, another a driving force in the movie.
So then we go to the DNA test where Lockjaw has now gotten Willow. They're in this beautiful, like, chamber, like a church kind of look. And he forces the DNA test upon her, tells her if these lines line up evenly, you're in trouble because that means you're my daughter. And she looks him dead in the eyes as they're sitting right next to each other in this empty room, just those two, father and daughter. And she says, "Your shirt is way too tight," because he is just like a puffed up raisin, a tan, wrinkly white raisin with ridiculous gray hair and a lip that won't stop and a walk that is so cringy that he looks like he's about to burst every moment. Like there's TNT inside of him. He's going to explode like dynamite. And when she tells him his shirt's too tight, another one of the funniest movies, he goes, "I'm not gay if that's what you mean." And she's like, "That's not what I was." He goes, "I'm not a homosexual." Like he's so offended by, like, I don't know how he drew that conclusion from the shirt. She's like, "I just thought your shirt was way too tight. You should probably get a bigger one. Like you look ridiculous right now." And I was like, PTA's kids have definitely told him before, like, "Yo, your shirt's too tight, Dad. Like, let's knock it off." But yeah, just a great and tense moment. One of the moments that really, I saw this with my girlfriend Maya, and she's a half black girl, and there's a moment where Sean Penn like grabs Willow and he says, "You're a mutt," and I was just like struck. I was like, "Oh my God, that's like a arrow to the chest. Like that's such a disgusting thing to say to a human, let alone your daughter." And that's really just another one of the examples of pure evil from this maniac.
Yeah, that scene just kind of doubles, triples down on who his character is. Like, if you think there's any redemption with him and his daughter and anything's going to happen, it just kind of shuts the narrative down right away and goes,
Yes.
"Hey, this man's too deep in it. He's not backing out." And I mean, we've all heard, I'm a little more prevalent back in the day, but hey, shirt's too tight. That is stereotypically a little gay,
Mm.
whether it is or isn't. You draw your own conclusion there, I guess. But yeah, I think it was, building off that a little and showing just how insecure this man is. He's talking to his daughter, this girl he doesn't even know for sure it's his daughter, and
Yeah,
is
at
just
that point, he
feeling
doesn't know yet.
emasculated. He's like, I got to prove how much of a man I am.
Yeah. And right when he finds out, he pulls her out. He goes, I am a Christmas adventurer. That's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm doing all of this for. It's a way higher calling. It's a superior calling than you. And he's just so indoctrinated into his brain that being a Christmas adventurer is the end all be all, that he will do anything in his path to get there. While this was happening, Bob has been arrested, and he goes to the local authorities, and he's in the back of the car saying that, his name's Batman, his name's Peter Parker, his name's Jim Parker, and he was born sometime in the 80s, and he goes to like the local collecting cell, and this is where we really realize the full power of Sensei, where there's like a Native American woman, and she's talking to Jim Parker, and she's like, Jim, your name's Jim Parker, and then she goes, Bob, and he kind of looks up a little bit. She goes, Bob, are you diabetic? And she's like nodding while she asks it, hinting at him to say, yes, I am diabetic. Did you take your insulin today? And it's very subtle, just a subtle shake of the head. And he goes, no. And that's when she's like, officers, we can't take this gentleman in. He needs to go to the ER. He gets to the ER. We had our first lady that was an angel in the night. And now we have our second one who's a nurse. And she comes up to him. She's like, let's check your sugar. All right, you're going to go through the bathroom and you're going to exit out the right, and Sensei is going to be down there waiting for you. And he goes down the stairs, and Sensei's there. And this is where we're back to bros, man. Bros being bros.
To the bros.
Dude, he gets in shotgun. He hands him some Modelo's again.
Another
Sensei
Modelo.
and he hands him like 3. Like, they have to be warm Modelo's. They're in a pretty hot location. These cannot still be cold. Like,
Yeah.
these are not your ideal Modelo's. He's just, here's some Modelo's, ease the pain a little bit. And he goes, let's take a selfie. When they take that fucking selfie, I'm like crying tears of joy. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, this is as good as it gets. Sensei, like, I think you might actually dig this. I heard Leo say it, but he's like, this movie, the story is so simple because it's Star Wars. You have Willa as Princess Leia, Sensei as Yoda, Lockjaw as
Ooh.
Darth Vader. Like, we've seen this story before. It's just been told in different ways. So it's like this story we've been told 100 times. And yeah, I thought those parallels were so fascinating because Sensei is definitely Yoda. That one is certainly the most obvious.
Yeah, I'll dig it because you can, as he's walking out, Leo, you're looking at your Yoda, looking at Sensei. I mean, Sensei, everybody calls him Sensei.
Everybody calls him Sensei.
What a powerful, respected man. But
Ocean
Leo,
waves.
all of us in theaters where you're just, God, how's he going to get out of this one? Just to come to find the network's bigger than we even thought. The Underground Railroad runs deep. And he's running up just like, oh, he has that look. He sees it's Sensei and he's freaking out like, no way, not you, man. You're my ultimate space Jesus out here
Literally.
in the desert world just coming to get me. And I think that was everybody in the theater of just like, yes, he's back with them. He's back.
And this movie is like so, I mean, PTA is the best at needle drops, but when he is escaping, they play Ready or Not by the Jackson 5. That's when that moment settles in. And I don't think that ever clicks for me on the first watch, like when the needle drop is coming here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even realize the Steely Dan one had come on the first watch until he was smoking pot in the car. But I'm like, oh, that actually happened when we see Willow for the first time when she's grown up. But yeah, Ready or Not starts playing as he's exiting the hospital. And so, he's on a mission. He is going to go find Willow. He knows where to go. He's going to go to the convent center with the nuns. And before he does that, he's drinking his Modelo and shotgun with Sensei. And, accidentally,
having some beers.
They just happen to drive by a cop car, which is just sitting on the side of the road, completely incidental to any of the cop activity happening back in Backton Cross. And they're like, was that guy fucking drinking? And so they have to pull them over. And since they're being pulled over, he's going to have to do a barrel roll out of the car. And another great line reading, Benicio Sensei just says to him, you know what freedom is? It's no fear, just like Tom fucking Cruise. You're going to jump out of this car on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, go. 4, Bob, 4. And Bob won't jump. He's scared shitless. He is not
He's
a
moving
hero.
faster than I thought he would be.
He definitely is.
Couldn't
But like,
slow down though. He couldn't.
but he does nothing heroic in this movie. He doesn't do anything like that's like, oh my God, that's an action star, Bob. Like you became the hero. He's just a dad. And he rolls out of that car because Sensei has to like, hitch the wheel a little bit and crank him out of there. And he gets out, lands safe, and then he has to hotwire a car, a really crappy, like old sportsmobile car that people probably thought was cool back in the day, and go to Willa.
Go to Willa. Yeah. I brain fart on what I was just about to say on that moment, but
No, you're good. I mean, it's, again, you've only seen it once. I've only seen it twice. Like, we're definitely missing some stuff. I feel like we're doing a pretty good job, like, relocating the plot. But, I mean, this is a packed movie. Like, there are so many, and I think that's great because it's not packed because it's, there are dead moments. Every moment feels so alive, and you want to remember all of them, and you want to see them again. So we move on to him again going to the convent, and he's arriving there just at the right time as Lockjaw is pulling Willa into the car, misses his shot, and then he is now getting shot at by all of the MKU. I mean, just there's like this concept in storytelling called Chekhov's gun, where if you see a gun on the screen, then that means at some point that gun has to be shot. Like that's the rule of storytelling. You cannot show a gun without pulling the trigger. PTA does like Chekhov's gun if the gun was handled by an absolute dumbass dad, right? It's like it completely goes against the Chekhov's rule. It's like, yeah, he's going to fire the gun, but he's going to totally miss. Like he's going to miss bad too, and then he's going to get shot at and look like the idiot. And so then this is when
we just return fire with just the best accuracy and precision ever. That I was
they're
seeing them all just
drilling
down there,
him.
just popping. Those bullets were whizzing past his head. Yeah,
My God.
I was for
Really
a second,
impressive.
I was just enamored with God. Those guys are good.
The pure accuracy, right?
The pure accuracy.
So then Lockjaw is taking Willa to somewhere, we don't know where, and we see the white car that we had seen earlier, which belongs to our bounty hunter, Boba Fett, Avanti Q. And they're just like in the middle of the desert. And when Avanti receives Willa, he's like, I don't kill kids. Like, that's against my moral compass. I'll do a lot of different things, but I will not kill a child. He's like, God, Lockjaw's just like, fuck. He's like, well, why don't you kill her, Lockjaw? He's like, I don't have time. And it's just like, it's such a simple answer. Like, Lockjaw's not going to kill his own daughter. So he's like, can you take her to the 1776, which is, I mean, even worse white supremacists, it looks like. Like, they actually look like white supremacists that we might normally associate with them, that are out in the middle of nowhere. And so Avanti takes her out there. We see this guy with like the beard with like pigtails from his beard and a tattoo that says restless or relentless or something like that. And we're like, all right, this is the end of the road for Willa. Really devastating. It just feels like everything's going to go wrong. And then Avanti has a change of heart. And after handcuffing her to the bench, he handcuffs her from the bench, takes out his shotgun, and kills all the white supremacists. And Willa then gets in his old Mustang after digging the keys out from his dead body, turns on the car. She's zip-tied at the hand, so she's going to have to steer this car with zip-tied hands. And there's a really special moment where I don't know how he did it. I imagine that he actually attached the camera to the part of the door where the window is rolled down, and she takes the car door and she slams it shut, and the camera comes with the car door at the same time. And so you go from like this kind of half viewer to her of like a rattled full view to her ready to drive. And so she's driving off. And before this has happened, I think we missed it, but Lockjaw thinks he got away scot-free. Another instance of us thinking somebody got away. And a blue Dodge Charger pulls up to the side of him. He's like, what does this guy fucking want? Rolls down his window, and there's Tim Smith. And I think the most jarring moment of the movie. Pulls out the shotgun, literally riding shotgun, and just pops Lockjaw right in the face. I mean, I was shocked. I think I heard gasps in the theater, if I remember correctly. How did this moment play for you?
Shocked because it comes out of nowhere. Just like you said, he got
Out of
away.
nowhere.
We're kind of focused on this other stuff, like internally in our head going on in the movie, and we're like, he's just getting away. We see the car pull up, and I mean, you're initially thinking it's this man, but just to go from 0 to 100, just with the shotgun, point it, sawed off, blasted to the face, and see him fly off the edge, you go, yeah, that man's done. He's out. He's cold cut. No more of him. Lockjaw. That's the end of your time here. You just got by the Christmas loving white people. They got you.
Christmas
So you're
adventures.
like, bye bye. And
I'm a Christmas loving white person, dude. Let's not discount my love for Christmas. That's easily my favorite holiday. But yeah, they're definitely the
the
Christmas
Christmas
adventures.
adventures. Yeah, so end of the road for him. Kind of playing on some things we have just briefly talked about. Just we just had the bounty hunter kind of give his life for Willa to move on. So a little sacrifice for her. And then her dad had Sergio kind of sacrifice for himself. So just people paying it forward, but people kind of giving themselves up for our main characters to continue on their journey and be the best. I felt bad that the bounty hunter guy had to die. I like to think that Sergio's so connected. He got out of it. He's Yoda walking around like, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure he
dude.
just talked his way out of it.
In
Or worst
OWI,
case,
he's dancing
yeah,
his way out of it. Literally, he's line dancing on him.
he's
And they're
fine. I
like,
forgot he was
"Sir, have you
dancing.
had anything to drink today?" He's like, "A few." And they're like, "A few
I had
what?"
a
He's like,
few mo-
"A few small
mo-
beers." That's my favorite way
Modelo's.
to refer to a 12-ounce can of beer now. Small beer, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
this is you
suggesting that he
small
is
guys.
drinking, he's normally drinking bigger beers. He's normally taking down 40 ounces, but he's like, I've had a few small beers. Like, what? I can't drive. Very Van Gundy from Oklahoma State of him.
What'd you throw out of your car? Nothing.
Did you think, I think what's maybe, I'm not sure I responded to it this way, but there's something like unceremonious about Lockjaw's quote unquote death when he gets shot in the face, where it's so shocking, so jarring that typically you'd want to see this guy that you've hated the entire movie to be killed, and you want it to be a slow play out, like you want it to be revealed dramatically. But PTA just subverts those expectations. He's like, fuck that. Like, we're just going to pop him and he's going to fall off the side of the road and be left for dead. And so then Bob is driving and he's finally caught up to the action and he sees the car rolled over and he doesn't see Willow in it. So he's like, all right, well, now I have to go find Willa. So he gets back on the road and now we are in the chase sequence of all chase sequences. I think this is the best filmmaking for a car chase that I've ever seen. It challenges
It
the
was
Fast and
definitely
Furious
new.
movies. Definitely new. I'm glad all right. I hope you feel the same way because he's doing these things with, and I heard him say this, they didn't know what the end of the movie was. They didn't know how it was going to play out action sequence wise. They had an idea, but they didn't know what it was going to look like. But during their location scout, where they're trying to find where everything is going to uncover itself and unfold, they found this road with all these hills. And so he's like, oh, I really like that. And so they wrote based off of those hills. And that's where we have, a camera attached to the front of the car, a camera attached to the back of the car. They have to be filming this on a car to keep up with this high speed chase. And there's a moment where you're going, it looks like backwards over a hill. And then a car comes right in front of you. And it's just like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like you are on the edge of your seat. He is so in control of every emotion of yours. And it's just another example of this is why you give the best filmmakers in the world as much money as they need to make their movies, because then you get moments like this. And Willa, in a moment of genius, is using the hills to her advantage, where she gets just out of the sight line of Tim Smith and his blue Dodge Charger, gets to the top of the hill, stops, puts the car in park, gets out, goes over to the side, and gets ready. And that's when I was like, I hope that I am smart enough to do something like that at some point. Because again, it kind of goes back to she was trained with a gun. She never got to use one. She was trained to do karate, but she never really got to use it. Like she never escapes lockjaw and hand-to-hand combat because she's zip-tied. But it's the mentality that she learned in the dojo with Sensei that benefited her in this moment, right? She has trained for this moment her entire life without realizing it because she is ocean waves. She's calm, she's cool, she's collected, and she's figuring it out that, all right, I'm not going to be able to outdrive this guy. It can't be, my tank of gas versus his. I'm just going to have to figure it out. And she does. And it's so fucking rewarding when his car just slams into the back of hers. He gets
God.
out stumbling, concussed, bleeding from every which area. And she asks him the password because she's confused. And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know." And boom,
Bang.
pops him. And I love that little pistol that she has with a little red dot. I think that thing is so cool. So
Same.
bounty hunter.
Yeah, that she got from the bounty hunter. I mean, the rolling hill sequence is the perfect way to. It was a great way to cap this movie off, and for it to be filmed the way it was, for the land to for the environment to almost be, not even, it becomes more
It's a
than just
character.
it becomes a character almost. It becomes more than the landscape, everything we're looking at. It could have been an aerial shot. It could have been, it could have been filmed in so many different ways that we've honestly seen before. Car chases aren't a new thing in movies whatsoever.
That's
But
so
for it to be
interesting.
filmed like this, and at the beginning to kind of wonder, you know what? Honestly, I didn't first 10 seconds, I'm like, I don't know if I like this view. I'm like,
Mm,
quit showing me the up and down, but
the roller
then
coaster.
you kind of catch on to it a little while you're watching. I could tell you, this is definitely going to play out in a way. This is going to play out. You see, you park the car. That's when it clicks immediately. Okay, they're filming this so we can get the character's POV. Character's not going to see this. Lord, I was hoping Bob saw it. I was a little worried there for a second,
Yeah,
but
for
Bob's the
sure.
man. Bob's the man. Yeah, he's
He
quick with
knows
it.
how to
He's going
drink
to
and
catch it.
drive.
He knows how to drink and drive. Other guy was speeding after her, and for her to yell the code out to him, you're immediately like, you gotta bang bang, no talking, bang bang, bad guy. But you realize this whole time she's not. She's wondering, is this an enemy or not? Like to not, she doesn't know the whole time is kind of crazy because
Yeah,
yes,
this
she's
guy could be part of the
confused,
French 75.
but could be a good guy. Yeah. So for all that to play out, I thought the ending sequence, I've come to appreciate it a lot more since.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so well said. I love your point about they didn't do an aerial view of this. Every single camera is on the ground with us. Like they don't want to give us any more information than what Willa has at her disposal, which I think is it just again, it puts us in the seat with her. Like we feel like we already feel so connected with her because I don't know about you, but I fucking love Willa. She's immediately going down as like an all-time performance for me, an all-time character for me. She's just so badass. And
Yeah, first
Bob.
movie, and she'd only been in Presumed Innocent across
And what's so
from
fascinating
Jake
about that, it's
Gyllenhaal.
like, yeah, like she has to go against Jake Gyllenhaal in Presumed Innocent, which I honestly haven't watched, but they had to have cast
Did.
her before she was in Presumed Innocent because that came out, what, a year and a half ago? And they casted this movie like 3 years ago, I think. But she's going against, Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, and Sean Penn the entire movie in her first movie. Like, that is unbelievable. But I love your point about we're worried about Bob because there's like this anxiety that he's going to crash because he's drunk driving. He's probably 8 Modelo's deep at this point, thanks to Sensei, our boy. And he stops and there's this moment that I think could be like so corny and so cheesy where it's, he gets out and they immediately come and hug and, it's happily ever after. She is so shook and she has so much PTSD settling in real time, this
Mm-hmm.
trauma of everything that's happened to her over the last 24 hours that she doesn't know who to trust. She doesn't know, you know, she knows who her real biological dad is. She doesn't know if her mom was a snitch or what, and her entire world's been flipped upside down. And so she's challenged and she's yelling at him, "What's the password? What's the password?" And in that moment, he realizes the password, and they talk it out. They get in the car, they drive off, and then we see Lockjaw, and Lockjaw has a messed up face, so much blood,
Yeah,
but he
you're like, you're
still has
back.
that walk somehow. Like he still has that walk. He is Terminator, resurrected from the dead, walking it off, and we're like, oh no, here we go again. Is this movie ever gonna end? Are Willa and Bob ever gonna be safe? And instead, we flash forward to his last interaction with the Christmas adventurers, Lockjaw, that is, and maybe the funniest bit of the movie. They're talking about. They're just confronting him face to face, like, "Hey, did you ever have an interracial relationship with this woman, Perfidia Beverly Hills?" And he was like, I didn't have a relationship with her, but I faced the enemy in combat in the dark. He says, I believe that I was reverse raped. And I've never heard that term before, but goddamn it, is it funny. And
Neither are they.
he goes, I think she might have been a sperm thief. She saw my power, my body, and she wanted it. And he's like, how do you know this if you were concussed? Like, if you were passed out, how do you know this? He's like, there's residue. And so, yeah, I think she might have been a sperm thief. And then, yeah, go ahead and say it. What does the old man say?
Yeah. A semen demon? He was
A
just so
semen
shook
demon.
and threw that out like it was in his daily vernacular, regular
Yes.
vocabulary, and was
Yes.
just like, "I've heard of these. A
I've
semen demon."
He's like, "Oh, yeah, of course, she's a semen demon." But you, like, you know, you're skeptical of that scene because you're like, well, why are they even, you know, questioning this guy, having a conversation with him? Because we haven't even talked about it, but his face is messed up. The makeup department, what they were able to do to Sean Penn's face to show that like lifted tooth and how
My
half of his
God.
face has been completely cosmetically repaired. Um, and we realize that the Christmas adventurers, they're the ones that are acting. They have to act like they're actually about to give this guy a spot in their illustrious club of All Hail St. Nick Christmas adventurers. And so they show him to his corner office. And that is just another one of those moments where it's like, okay, this is all that Lockjaw has ever wanted. He just wanted the most corporate America corner office with, he goes, look at that view. Isn't that a great view? And it's the most boring, empty office you've ever seen. It's just a wooden desk, the two like boring old like monitors from 2014 that you plug your computer into that aren't even that impressive, just gross shelving. It's just so disgusting to me. But that's all he ever wanted. And he sits back in his chair, kicks his feet up, and he's like, finally, I'm a Christmas adventurer. Like, again, a guy that climbed the ranks of the military. This is all he ever wanted, was to be accepted by corporate America. And what do? They forget the keys in their pocket. They pat themselves down. He goes, I'm going to go grab your keys. You chill in here, close the door, gas him. And I was talking to my colleague earlier actually about this. And, you know, these guys are white supremacists, neo Nazis, you know, whatever you want to call them. It's fascinating that they gas him and then they throw him in an incinerator as neo Nazis, because that suggests that they've done this before. They have a cleanup crew and hazmat suits ready to get rid of him and throw him in the incinerator. This is not their first rodeo. They've dealt with this before. Just a touch on a movie that is not necessarily, he easily could have just died in that car accident, but it's world building. It's PTA just being like, another flex of the muscle. Let me add this little 4-minute sequence in because it just adds that much more to the value of the movie.
And it just goes to show when you're in a movie and you see somebody dead, you got to shoot them again, just in case. You never know. I thought that man was out, but yeah, to have him come back, I'm glad that it served a purpose, got us that final conversation with that organization you wanted to be a part of, and for just all to end that way. And like you said, they were ready to go. He wasn't even probably fully dead yet. I mean, he was, but the hazmat suit's ready while it's happening. Basically, they just walk in, up he goes in flames, and it's like, well, that's our character Lockjaw's fate. I don't think any of us thought he'd get a good one, but yeah.
So that's our conclusion for Lockjaw. We have to have our conclusion for Bob and for Willa. We return home to Bob and Willa sitting at a table. He's having a glass of wine and he has a gift for her. And he hands her a letter that was written to her by her mother. We don't know when, but we know that it's probably somewhere in the last 5 to 6 years, which is nice to know that Bob and Perfidia have at least stayed in contact through handwritten letters to this point. And Tiana Taylor's voiceover comes in as Willa is reading this letter in her bedroom by herself. And I mean, we haven't talked about the Oscars at all. We don't really do that on the show, but like, she should be nominated for this voice performance alone. Like, I'm in the theater both times tearing up. Like, I couldn't help myself. I just think it's so impressive. And I think that's another reason that you cast, you know, an R&B artist like Tiana Taylor, a pop singer like her, because her voice is so powerful that even the recitation or when she recites this letter, it chokes you up in the theater. And it's a credit to Chase Infinity's performance, just reading it and the emotions that are coming over her face, and then Leo's performance at the table as he knows what she's reading. He knows the contents of that letter. Um, did you tear up at all?
I didn't tear up at this, but the moment still definitely landed. I definitely tear up at movies, but it's got to be a certain thing. Watched The Long Walk recently. Not plugging that, no promo, but that movie actually did make me cry a few times in
I'm excited
theaters.
to see that still.
It's just credit to that, but the moment landed. Yeah, it
Landed.
was important for her to hear that message from her mother. Heartfelt, emotional. Tiana Taylor's character was reading it with the voice of a mother and not
Mm,
the kind of revolutionist she'd been the whole time.
Absolutely.
And there was empathy and love that she was spitting out there. Or, yeah, she was trying to connect with her daughter and
She was
say,
spitting it, dude.
here's my wise words for you. Um,
But
this
asking her
pussy hot for
questions
you.
too. She's like, "Are you
Yeah.
happy? Do you have love
Yeah.
in your life? Are you going to try to change the world like I did?" She says, "I failed, but maybe you can, do it. Like you can be the one to do it." And that's when we
Fourth
flash
generation
forward
revolutionist.
like maybe like a week, fourth generation revolutionist. Flash forward, God knows how much time, maybe like a couple of days, but we just see, it's the final scene of the movie. It's Leo and Chase together, and they have iPhones. They've been resisting these phones their entire life. The movie has been resisting screens the entire film, and he's trying to figure out how the camera works on his phone and how to flip it to get a selfie, like Sensei did earlier in the
Oh,
movie. And she's like already like an expert at it. She's young. She's figuring out the iPhone quickly, trying to direct him. This happens with my parents, or my mom at least, and my nanny all the time, where they're asking me questions. I'm like, it's so easy to me, but they can't seem to figure it out for some reason. Um, and he's just smoking a joint. And then on the radio comes a call about an MKU unit, Lockjaw's former unit, taking over, I think, San Diego or Oakland or something like that. And she hears it, and it's raining outside. And he's like, "That's a 3.5 hour drive. I'm not sure if you should go to that." And she says, "Fuck it." And it's the perfect full circle moment where she's a revolutionary now. She's one of the French. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But yeah, she's following in her mother's footsteps, kind of in her father's footsteps to an extent, of course. But yeah, fuck,
well,
dude.
definitely no other parent would be chilling like that, chilling like Leo was in that situation. He says these kind of, hey, are you thinking about this? That's a far drive. You could get wet, kind of a dangerous scenario to put yourself in. She's like, I'm out. And he's like, love you, honey. Like, be
He says,
safe out
she
there.
says, "Be safe," and she says, "I don't." And she gets in the car, and then American Girl starts playing, which, I mean, god damn,
I thought that was
really
an
a perfect
interesting.
movie. Really a perfect
I would have
movie.
never expected him to put that song in one of these movies, but I was singing it on the way out, humming
I
it,
think
just
he used this movie to put in simpler songs. I mean, he does it in Boogie Nights with like "You Sexy Thing" and like really famous like classic songs like "Best of My Love." But yeah, this one, it's like, I think it's such an interesting, not statement necessarily, but like, yeah, this is what the American Girl is now. Like, this is our future generation. This is who we're relying upon to take action and kick ass and fight the MKUs of the world, because they're out there, they're real. And yeah, I think that's why like I left with more juice the second time around, because I'm coming out of it at 8 p.m. versus 11:15 p.m. I'm like, damn, I'm ready to go start a revolution right now. But first, let's go to Christopher's and let's get some dinner and drinks, and then we can start it afterwards. But yeah, that's one battle after another. I think it's the movie of the year. I think it's the movie of the
bef-
decade.
before we sign off here, what are your? I know, kind of the quips. What people say. PTA is not a blockbuster guy. His movies aren't made to. He's not a James Cameron. This isn't Avatar. He doesn't make those kind of movies. He makes
Mhm.
films for film lovers. So with that in mind, what are the takeaways or your thoughts? I'm kind of curious on just his, the first week box office gross coming back in, how it'll do in the future, and does that really matter?
It doesn't. Because of the studio that released it and because of the artist that made it. So Warner Bros. Released this film. They also released Minecraft this year, Sinners, and Weapons. They're doing fine financially. If they lose money on this movie, it's no sweat. Like, none of his movies make any money. And I think that's more of a, like, I was looking at it earlier between the international audience and the American audience, and I was kind of insulted to be an American for a second row. I was like, why do they have better taste than us? I mean, they have way more countries to account for towards that money, but it's like,
That's the
this
thing.
is our guy. Like, this is a guy
Yeah,
from California. We should be supporting him. There should be more effort put into, like, Tarantino movies make money. And I always think about these two parallel to one another, where it's like, if Pulp Fiction didn't exist, will we treat Tarantino the way, like, I just wish that people gave PTA the same amount of attention they gave Tarantino. Like, I wish I would have known who Paul Thomas Anderson was when I was 15 years old, like I knew who Quentin Tarantino was. But it took time and effort and research and movie loving and a best friend like Hato to show me him, versus, everybody on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter telling me to watch Tarantino. And I think that's why I'm so happy this movie exists, because I think he's going to be held in that regard and that esteem from here on out. He should have already been there. He fucking made There Will Be Blood, motherfucker. Like, he should have already been there. But yeah, but from like a standpoint of the Cameron thing, I think that this movie is more not Avatar, but more Titanic than it is, Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. And I think every movie, or 2001: A Space Odyssey, like, I think every movie he made up to this point was more Kubrick than it was Cameron. And now this is more Cameron than it was Kubrick. Now this has richer themes and subtext, like we discussed throughout the conversation, that would line up more with his previous movies. That's definitely exists. But again, I think that you could go to this movie, like, let's just pick a random person that doesn't want Phil. Phil can go see this movie and not give a shit about any of the themes and just fucking enjoy it. And he did. And then we discussed the themes and he was like, oh, that makes it even better. Right? So it's like, there's layers to it. There's layers.
And I saw somebody say that PTA released his movies are either, he had his like coke charged era of movies, his weed charged era of movies, and this was a nice little blend of weed and coke, even though in real life that's probably not the move. Mixed together, this was them mixed together. It all led to this moment, and they were mixing together. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think you can take Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. That's for sure. Like, I'm feeling myself. This is my big dick and I want to fuck. Flexing his muscles. I know fucking karate, cocaine era. And then I would say maybe Punch Drunk Love to an extent. I think that's more romantic. Then There Will Be Blood and The Master. It's like, all right, I am a genius. Check me out. These are two of the best movies you'll ever watch. And now he's been in weed dad phase, is what they're calling it. From Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza, and this. It's very calm.
Yes.
So yeah, man. I appreciate whatever era he's in. I love all of his movies, all 10 of them. I do have this ranked at number 4 right now in his top 10, which sounds like, when I say that, it sounds like it's a lesser movie. If I have it at number 4 in my top 10 of his movies, I think I have it at number 11 in my favorite movies ever from any director. Right? Like, he's that far ahead of everybody for me. And I think he cemented that with this. Like, I love Scorsese and Tarantino and David Fincher and Wes Anderson and Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg. PTA is just a tier above all of them for me.
Fair enough. I usually need a little bit of time to settle with a movie, and that's just personally how I operate with it. But I'm kind of jealous and wish sometimes I could just see the vision of the movie so clearly.
You will.
And what it will be. I will.
I'm not special. Like, once you watch all of his movies, you're going to get there. Like, you watch the rest of his movies. This is a great time to plug the other episode we did with Barter, going through all of Paul Thomas Anderson's films. We didn't do an hour and 50 minutes on every single one of them. We did 15 minutes on each of them, I think. But yeah, go watch them, listen to it, love it, read about them. I have this book right here, actually. It's written by a really good writer. His name is Adam Naiman. Not the best podcaster in the world, but it's called Paul Thomas Anderson's Masterworks, and it is every movie up until Licorice Pizza. And there are essays on them and pictures from them, behind the scenes and illustrations, and it's brilliant. And I'm really excited for him to update this book now that Licorice Pizza and One Battle After Another exist. But yeah, that's my guy. All right, well, fuck, this has been draining, just like my first watch of One Battle After Another. But this has been fun, man. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Do we even bother doing a 5? I'm 5 stars. Are you 5 stars? Are you 4.5? Where are you at right now after your first viewing?
I opened up at 4.5, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I think it was one of those things because I had that, takeaway of where I had to sit with it, and I didn't realize, I want to pinpoint what this movie's about. Can't fully do that. That's just not PTA. That's not his movies. There's a plot here too. I think I just need more time with it, another rewatch, and I guarantee it should be up there. But
did this conversation help?
Yes, most definitely. Feel a lot more comfortable just with him as a director, and then it just running through this movie. No, I needed you so much there.
I do not like this movie as much after having talked to you about it for 2 hours.
I like it more.
Yeah,
no.
Good.
I definitely like it more. I feel like I remember the movie more now because you watch it one time, you're kind of just so in the moment. This was a
Yep.
movie moment, so you're kind of in that moment where you're looking back, racking the brain, and just trying to remember the sequence of events that happened because it's a long movie. It's fast. It's fast paced to the extent that there's always something going on that you need to pay attention to. So yes, ultimately feeling a lot better where I stand with this.
Beautiful. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. Uh, go see One Battle After Another again, because although we don't care about the box office, we want Paul Thomas Anderson's movies to be successful and for as many people as possible to see them. So go see it in a theater with some friends, go to dinner afterwards, have a drink, talk about it, and yeah, celebrate this movie because movies like this don't come along often. I can tell you that much already. So thank you for listening. We love you. And what's up, homie?